Here's how you plant a tree that will actually
Hey,
survive.
what's going on, guys? All right, so look, the first thing that you want to do after you identify the area that you want to plant your tree is you want to clear out all of the grass from a, a, a predetermined area where you're going to plant that tree. And that's just going to eliminate any competition for that water source that that tree is going to need early on in its life. And so here's a method that I've seen somebody else use and found it to be really helpful. I've already taken my sledgehammer and drove this stake into the ground. I've got this string that's 60 inches, already pre-cut at 60 inches. I'm going to take this string, set it around this pole. Basically, what I'm going to do is pop off that lid of the spray paint. I'm using black spray paint here. If you had white, it might be a little bit better, but honestly, for what we're doing here, you don't need, all you gotta be able to see is this area. So I stretch this string out tight, and then I basically just spray this spray paint, holding this string taut all the way around this, all the way around this entire area. You see here, all the way around, completing the circle. And that's going to give you your whole area. What I do after that is I take my string off so that I've got a nice, pretty clean working area. And then to get this grass up, I'm sure there are better ways to do this, but with the tools that I have, I found this to be just fine. So I just go pretty shallow with my shovel and just toss all that grass to the side, because you're going to want to keep that grass for compost. You're not going to put it back there. You're not going to put this back now, but you definitely want to keep it for compost. So I'm going to do this throughout this entire area inside this circle, like I said before, to eliminate all the competition for the water supply that this tree is going to need. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut the camera off. I'm going to do this. It takes about 25-30 minutes, and then turn this back on when we're done. All right, guys, so I've got all the grass taken up from this area within the spray paint that I was showing you all ago. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this rake, drag all this dirt off to the side, just right outside of that area. Again, this is dirt. This is some topsoil, and this is some grass that I'm definitely going to want to keep for compost later. So it's a good idea just to set it off to the side. So I'm just going to do this for you now. Now, I will say, if I was planting a tree, a bit smaller tree, like I'm going to be doing later today, some dogwoods and stuff, I wouldn't be making an area quite this big. But for these big oak trees, I do want to have a big surface area for mulch, and so that's not going to be it's not going to be a problem at all. So anyway, it's pretty good, right? Pretty good. All right, so now I'm going to come back and we're going to start digging our hole. But to do that, it's really important that you go ahead and get your tree out. Again, this is a northern red oak. When I get this tree out, I'm going to be able to see the depth of hole that I need to dig. So what I'm going to do now is I'm gonna try to break up the soil. You know this, if you've planted any trees before, a lot of times when they plant these trees in these pots, these roots can take on a circular form, and that's not good for the overall health and the life of this tree. So when I'm putting it in the ground, I definitely want to loosen all that up. And so what I'm going to show you here, I'm actually going to come through here with my knife, and I'm just going to score it. It's right down through here. I'm putting this tree in the ground so we can have some shade in a few years.
Why are you getting the dirt off?
Because I got to get the dirt off when I plant it.
I gotta be.
So Trinity, you know me? Right, thank you so much. Dude. And Inky, I'm gonna put my knife right here, so be real careful with your hand, okay?
Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, coming back with my knife. Be real careful. And so what I'm looking for here is to loosen up this soil, loosen up these roots. And I'm also going to show you here in a second, looking for this flare at the bottom of this stem on this tree here. Now, if I wasn't showing you in this video, I'd actually have this tree on the ground on its side so that it wouldn't be wobbling like that, but I really want you to see this, all right? So what I'm going to do now, got this loosened up. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of digging right here at the top, because a lot of these potted trees, when they come to you, that flare is pretty deep in here. And so when it goes to planting this tree in the ground, you got to get to that where that tree trunk flares out. And so this is where you got to kind of dig around here. You can take your fingers as much as possible, and if not, then you can take your blade with. All right, so look, here's what's fascinating. That big old pile of soil that we had surrounding this tree has now been eliminated down to this small, and I could really loosen this up too, because it's still pretty circular, but it looks like a bird nest, doesn't it? And it needs to be loosened up a lot more. But what I was mainly wanting to get down to is this flare here. This flare, you see where it starts to flare out. So you see a shoot out here, you see a shoot out here, and just think about that big old oak tree you climbed when you were a kid, and all those roots that it had right at its base, and how you climb on those roots, and gave you a little bit of a step up to climb that tree. Well, that's what you're trying to find here on this little tree, on this little sapling, this young tree. You're trying to find on here, where is that flare? And you actually want to dig this hole shallow enough that this flare is exposed, deep enough that this is underground, but shallow enough that this is exposed. As you can tell, this is not going to be a very deep hole at all. And so I'm going to get to work digging this hole, and then I'll check back with you in just a minute. Okay, so when it comes to digging this hole, I only need to go as deep as this root flare. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this in this spot that I want to dig that hole, and I need to go about twice as wide as this root ball, but not any deeper. And so what I've done here is I've just created a little bit of a square with the edge of this, the tip of this shovel. And then I'm going to go lay this down, and I'm going to dig this hole about half the length of this shovel, of the head of this shovel. And that's going to be the depth that I need to go. And then I'll have the width. Okay, so look, I've got the hole dug now. I actually think it's going to be a little bit deep, but I kind of want to show you how I make that measurement. So I'm going to grab my tree. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to set it down right in this hole. It's pretty fascinating how preparing the surface takes a lot longer than the planting of the tree. Getting all that grass cleaned out took a lot longer than digging this hole. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my shovel. I'm going to lay it across this hole. And what I can see from that angle is that this hole's a little bit too deep because that flare is below the handle of my shovel. I'm going to lay it across this hole. And what I can see from that angle is that this hole's a little bit too deep because that flare is below the handle of my shovel. And also kind of take it from here. And listen, I'm also planting on a hill, which makes this a little bit more challenging, but this is a little bit closer. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a little bit of dirt, come in here. I'm going to spread it. Now, when I dug this hole, though I had left a lot of dirt in it, it's a pretty shallow hole. I broke up the ground underneath where this root is going to go. So we've got some really loose soil in here. I'm going to come in here now. I'm going to check this again. Honestly, it's still a little bit deep. It's getting a lot closer. But I'd actually rather this be shallow, deep. I'm going to put a little bit more dirt. And this backfill dirt that I'm using, it's the same dirt that I took out of the ground. I don't need to go to the department store and get any fertilizer or tree growth. Where I'm at here, this soil is good. Now, all right, listen, I really like this height. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take a little bit of dirt and I'm going to start backfilling this sandstone. Can I jump right here, sweetie? I'm going to start backfilling this. All right, here's what I'm going to do now. This is a pretty important step, is I'm going to take a few steps back. I'm going to take some steps back and then off to the side, and I'm going to make sure that this tree is level. All right, that tree looks really good from below the hill. That tree looks really good from this side too, so I'm going to go ahead and keep filling this in. I'm going to try to slope this a little bit because, like I said, it is on a hill, which makes it a little bit deceiving. It looks like that flare is going to be under the ground, but I don't think that it will be. I hope it's not. I hope that it won't be. So we'll have to take it out of the ground and get it right. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'll move the shovel for you. I'm going to take my hands here, just kind of spread this out. And I'm going to pat it down here. Here's my flare. Here's my flare. I want to make sure that that guy is still above the ground. Good spot here. I'm actually really happy with this. This is going to be just fine. So it's above the ground about, I hope it's about an inch. It might be a little bit less. I was shooting for about an inch. Isn't that something? You want that above the ground, an inch, as opposed to below the ground? You would really think that that thing needs to be buried all the way up to to look like a pole sticking out of the ground to make it stable, right? And I am in very, very windy conditions here on the hill that we live on. But when you do that, you can suffocate that tree, and it also creates a little bit of mildew, and it makes it harder for that tree to grow the way that it needs to grow. Okay, guys, so look, we've got the stake in the ground, the tree's in the ground, and now we're going to take this Treemato that we got on Amazon, and we're going to use it to secure this tree. Now, where we live, I'm not sure about where you are, but where we live, that is so important because the hill that we live on is very, very, very windy. And so I think this is going to be a very important part to the longevity of the life of our tree. And so how you work this is you can basically see here on the camera, you can basically see how that T-post is going to slide right in there. And then I've got a spot in my pocket where this is going to go around the tree. And then the rubber band. I think you're going to see it kind of all come together here. So we're going to slide it all the way down to the place that we need it. Therefore, on the way down, let's write Keith Francis. Okay. Let's figure out where I want this guy. I'll go a little further, a little further. I'm going to go right there. You can see this. Kirsten, you come around here for me? Walk around here for me, Kirsten. Look at how this sits on there. Walk right up on it there, Kirsten. Shine. You can see how this is all going to kind of work together. So hold that camera there, Kirsten. I'm going to take this little cap, and it pops. Basically goes around this T-post like that. Just kind of secure it all together.
If you need to at the way.
What, sweetie? There we go, just like this. Okay? All right, Kirsten, keep the camera there. Shine it right here. Lift it up a little. There you go, perfect. Right, Andy, stay there, please. Now I've got this piece. It's going to lock this all in together. This is going to slide in. Now look here. So now we're going to take this. We're going to take just like that. And that's how we're going to kind of fasten all this together. Now, I could also come in here like this, but I'm gonna do just like you saw there. I'm gonna take it, go just like that, and here's how it's gonna look. I got my apple eaters over here, and so we have got a tree that is secure, a flare that is exposed, and we have a northern red oak on the property. How it's on. Okay, guys. So the last thing I did here with planting our tree is I installed about 4 bags of mulch. Now this is a big surface area, but again, I'm planting an oak tree here, so I wanted to have a big surface area. I put a pretty good amount of volume of mulch right around the flare of that tree. We're still in early spring here, getting some cooler nights and some warmer days, and so definitely didn't want that flare totally exposed. But I'm very happy with how everything turned out here. Very happy with that. I think it's important when you do this is you create a bit of a volcano type effect. That way when you come to water it, or when it rains, water is able to have a bit of a channel to run down into when it soaks those roots.